The gods are demanding blood, but a king is out there fighting fate itself just to get home. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down a seriously brutal, epic journey. We are diving into the highly anticipated cinematic trailer for The Odyssey. And let me tell you, we're completely stripping away those sanitized grade school fairy tales to look at a gritty, visceral struggle for survival. So get ready, because we are deconstructing exactly how a battle-hardened monarch wages war against destiny just to reclaim his own front door. Now, to really grasp the cinematic and emotional tone of this reimagined myth, we've got to anchor our analysis right out of the gate with this incredibly haunting question from the trailer. Tell me what you remember. It just sets this chilling, introspective mood instantly, doesn't it? It tells us right away that this story isn't just about hacking at physical monsters on the open sea. It's about a severely fractured mind desperately trying to hold on to its humanity and its memories after a solid decade of brutal war. And the answer to that haunting question? A wife, a son. It's so unbelievably simple, yet it carries literally the entire emotional weight of the narrative. I mean, these 4 words are the engine driving our protagonist through this nightmare. It's not about glory, it's not about gold. It's just this desperate, absolute need to reunite with his family. It's that universal anchor, right? When the world strips everything else away, family is your ultimate tether to reality. Okay, let's dive into this next part. While his mind remains totally fixated on that memory, the actual reality back home is incredibly volatile. The trailer drops this heavy line: "This is a household waiting for a master." This perfectly transitions us from that emotional hook right into the high-stakes reality of the massive power vacuum back in Ithaca. You know the saying, nature abhors a vacuum? Well, so does a kingdom. His home is dangerously unguarded. To unpack all this chaos, here's our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with a king's desperate return, then look at the parallel storyline, the Siege of Ithaca. After that, we'll hit the cast and cinematic vision, and finally, wrap up by predicting the violent climax. All right, part 1, a king's desperate return. Listen to this line from the trailer. "We won the war. Help me go home." Man, you can practically hear the sheer exhaustion dripping from those words. This brilliantly highlights a battle-hardened king who absolutely isn't celebrating some legendary victory in Troy. Actually, scratch that, it's more like he's a prisoner. He's trapped at sea, desperately pleading for passage after defying the gods. That victory means absolutely nothing if he can't return to the people he actually fought for. 10 years. Now, what's really interesting about this is, well, just think about the absolute worst commute you've ever had in your life, and then multiply it by a decade of cosmic wrath and mythical monsters. That's what we're looking at here. Odysseus has endured a 10-year struggle against the elements, just trying to navigate the treacherous Mediterranean. To put that into perspective, it highlights the sheer, unrelenting scale of his punishment and this massive curse keeping him from his life. Moving on to part 2, the Siege of Ithaca, a domestic nightmare. And this brilliantly illustrates the terrifying duality we're dealing with here. On one side, you have Odysseus battling divine wrath just to survive the raging sea. On the other, his palace is completely infested with literally the worst house guests in ancient history. We're talking aggressive suitors consuming all his wealth and basically treating the kingdom like it's their own personal resort. It's this insidious political siege happening right in his own living room. The trailer gives us a really visceral taste of this domestic hostility, with this super aggressive piece of dialogue directed at the prince. "You're pining for a daddy you didn't even know, like some sniveling bastard." Wow. This aggressively showcases the fierce family resistance. It pits a remarkably resilient Penelope and a desperate but hopeful young Telemachus against these ruthless, occupying men who are just doing everything they can to break their spirit and seize total control. And you know, it's not just psychological taunting. The trailer exposes a much darker conspiracy driving the second act. "I need everyone in his party dead." So the suitors aren't just sitting around waiting to marry the queen, they are actively plotting a murder. They plan to assassinate the young prince to permanently erase the king's legacy. Because, think about it, if the heir is dead, the throne is 100% theirs. Let's pivot to part 3. Cast and cinematic vision. So let's look at the core factions involved. We've got our battle-hardened protagonist, the resilient matriarch Penelope, holding the line, the endangered heir Telemachus, and of course the ringleader orchestrating the whole occupation. And capturing all of this? A creative team that's incredibly well-renowned for high-stakes historical epics. They're bringing a seriously gritty pedigree to the table here. And when I say pedigree, we're talking about a hyper-violent reimagining. The creative team is actively stripping away all those sanitized, polished fairy tale elements to reveal a raw, violent, and honestly incredibly bloody struggle for survival and dominance. It is a super dark cinematic approach to classical mythology that, for sure, completely changes how we view these ancient heroes. So the crucial point is that this entire trailer balances on a core thematic dissonance: vengeance versus fate. You have a bleeding, completely exhausted mortal man actively waging war for his family, pitted right against the absolute, overwhelming will of the gods, who are telling him his world is gone and he just cannot control his destiny. And that cosmic clash culminates in this absolute mic drop moment from the trailer. No one can stand between me and home, not even the gods. I mean, chills, right? Odysseus completely rejects divine fate in favor of mortal vengeance. He is literally drawing a line in the sand, directly challenging the universe itself. It's such a powerful, defiant declaration of human willpower. Finally, part 4, predicting the violent climax. Let's see how this builds, kind of like a ticking clock. Step 1, the secret infiltration, where Odysseus will very likely have to enter his own palace in disguise just to assess who actually stayed loyal. Step 2, the tension completely snaps into a hyper-violent slaughter right there in the Great Hall. And finally, step 3, the ultimate divine reckoning, a final, epic confrontation with those cosmic forces to truly seal his family's restoration. That predicted step 2, the whole slaughter of the Suitors, connects directly back to this fierce realization from the trailer dialogue. When asked what his father is bringing home, Telemachus just looks up and says, "Bringing vengeance? Bringing it all." It's basically a promise to the audience. This homecoming? Yeah. It's not going to be a peaceful, tearful reunion. It's going to be a total, uncompromising execution of justice against the men who tried to steal his entire world. So, what does this all mean? Well, we are left with this incredibly powerful, overarching question. Will Odysseus actually survive the wrath of the gods, or will Ithaca ultimately fall to the suitors before he can even arrive? It really is the ultimate test of human will versus grand destiny. Will he make it back to his front door, or is he going to die on the threshold? Sound off with your theories in the comments below. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember, sometimes you literally have to fight the universe just to find your way home.